What if the smartest parenting strategy isn't the latest app, podcast, or best-selling book, but something 200,000 years old? Imagine raising a child without sleep training, baby monitors, or even cribs. No screen time battles, no timeouts, just instinct, closeness, and community. Sounds wild, right? But for most of human history, this was the norm, and surprisingly, it worked. Recent research suggests that Stone Age parenting practices created more empathetic, emotionally secure, and socially intelligent children than many modern approaches do today. So how did cavemen raise kids without messing them up? Caveman parenting wasn't primitive. It was intuitive, neurologically aligned, and built for long-term human flourishing. And maybe it's smarter than you think. We'd like to think we've come a long way since the Stone Age. After all, we have smartphones, washing machines, and Google. Cavemen, they had rocks and fire. But here's the thing, it just gave us new tools. Neurologically, our brains are almost identical to those of our hunter-gatherer ancestors. The same hardware, just running different software. And when it came to raising children, that software was surprisingly sophisticated. Today, we tend to picture ancient parents as cold, uninvolved, or even violent. But anthropological evidence paints a very different picture. Early humans were deeply communal, emotionally responsive, and physically affectionate with their children. Not because they read parenting books, but because it was essential for survival. Caveman parenting wasn't about controlling kids, it was about nurturing them into functional, cooperative adults who could thrive in a dangerous, unpredictable world. Many of those ancient practices, things like skin-to-skin contact, extended breastfeeding, or responding quickly to cries, are now backed by modern neuroscience. Babies were born naturally, with oxytocin, their love hormone, released in high levels, forging a powerful mother-infant bond. Once born, infants weren't placed in cribs or swings. They were held constantly. Mothers carried them in slings, made from animal hides or woven fibers. This continuous physical contact regulated body temperature, breathing, and stress, literally shaping the infant's brain. Feeding wasn't scheduled. Breastfeeding was on demand and extended often for 2 to 5 years. It provided not just nutrition, but immune support and emotional security. No bottles, no sippy cups, just the human body doing what it evolved to do. Discipline. Forget spanking. Physical punishment wasn't part of the Paleolithic playbook. Instead, parents used gentle correction and modeling. Children learned through observation, not coercion. Crying babies weren't left to set. That would have been dangerous. In a world filled with predators, a crying child could attract something deadly. So caregivers responded immediately. They didn't worry about spoiling a child, they worried about survival. But here's the twist. These babies weren't raised by just one person. Hunter-gatherer children had multiple caregivers: mothers, fathers, grandparents, aunts, and even unrelated adults in the tribe. Anthropologists call this Finally, kids weren't plopped in front of toys or screens. They played all day, often with children of mixed ages. No rigid age groups, no structured lessons, just exploration, imagination, and constant social learning. Modern science is finally catching up to what ancient parents already knew. When a baby is born, their brain is far from complete. At birth, only about 25% of the brain is developed. The rest forms in response to early experience, especially physical touch stimulates the release of oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, chemicals that build trust, lower stress, and lay the foundation for emotional regulation. When a caregiver responds to a crying baby with calm attention, the baby's nervous system learns to self. This creates a brain better wired for empathy, resilience, and focus. But if that care is missing, if a child is left to cry alone or handled coldly, stress hormones like cortisol spike. Chronic stress in infancy actually shrinks brain structures related to memory and emotional control. Caveman parenting, with its constant closeness and responsiveness, protected babies from toxic stress. It served as an external regulation system, teaching the brain how to manage danger without overwhelming fear. Even breastfeeding plays a role. Breast milk contains hormones and enzymes that influence brain development. Nursing isn't just food, it's emotional calibration. Co-sleeping synchronizes heart rate, breathing, and sleep cycles, promoting secure attachment and reducing infant stress. Modern parenting often feels like a solo act, just mom or dad trying to juggle everything alone. But in the Stone Age, parenting wasn't individualistic, it was collective. Alloparents, people who help raise a child even if they're not the biological parents, were the norm. This could be grandparents, aunts, uncles, older siblings, or even unrelated adults. Anthropologists like Sarah Blaffer-Hrdy argue that this cooperative care is hardwired into our species. When infants receive love and interaction from multiple caregivers, their social brains expand. They learn to read different emotional cues, navigate complex relationships, and feel secure in a broader network of trust. Research shows that kids raised with more caregivers tend to be more emotionally stable and socially adept. Alloparents brought different skills, stories, and experiences to the child's world. The child becomes a student of the entire community. Contrast that with today's nuclear family, where support networks are often thin or non-existent. Parents feel overwhelmed, isolated, and burned out. In modern life, we schedule everything, but in the Stone Age, play was unscheduled, unstructured, and completely. Hunter-gatherer children played constantly, often in mixed-age groups, and without adult interference. Unstructured play develops key brain areas tied to problem-solving, empathy, and impulse control. It builds executive function, the mental skills we use to manage emotions, focus attention, and make decisions. Through negotiating games, resolving arguments, and taking on different roles, kids learn cooperation, fairness, and when kids of different ages play together, younger kids learn from older ones, while older kids practice leadership and empathy. Today's kids are facing a crisis of emotional regulation. Rates of anxiety, depression, and behavioral disorders are rising. One contributing factor is a lack of free play. Caveman parenting relied on the natural developmental laboratory of play. That's where empathy is born, self-awareness takes root, and kids become adaptable adults. Paleolithic mothers breastfed their children for 2 to 5 years, biologically normal, not just extended by today's standards. Human infants are born far earlier in development than most mammals. Our large brains require an early birth, which means babies arrive physically helpless and neurologically immature. Breast milk isn't just food, it's medicine, immune support, and a regulator of emotional and hormonal balance. Breastfeeding boosts immunity, lowers disease risk, and promotes neurological development. It helps build secure attachment, crucial for emotional stability. Beyond biology, breastfeeding was about connection, skin-to-skin contact, eye-gazing, the soothing rhythm of nursing. These were the original signals of safety and love. This closeness helped babies regulate their heart rate, stress hormones, and body temperature. Caveman mothers nursed on demand, responding to their child's signals immediately. This constant responsiveness shaped babies' stress responses, teaching them that the world is safe and their needs will be met. Imagine a Paleolithic night, no walls, just a small fire, surrounded by shadows and predators. For a Stone Age baby, being alone wasn't just scary, it was fatal. That's why ancestors didn't put babies in separate rooms or sleep train them. Mothers and infants slept together, often skin to skin, in close contact through the night. It wasn't a parenting style, it was a survival strategy. Research shows that responsiveness to infant distress is critical in shaping a child's nervous system. Babies who are consistently comforted develop lower baseline stress levels, more stable emotional regulation, and healthier attachment patterns. When babies cry and someone responds, they learn that the world is safe. Letting babies cry it out goes against millions of years of evolutionary programming. Co-sleeping, when practiced safely, supports breastfeeding, improves sleep patterns, and reinforces deep biological bonding. Stone Age parents understood that emotions aren't obstacles, they're signals, and physical touch is the language through which we teach children to understand them. At birth, a baby's brain is only 25% developed. It's wired for connection, not independence. When a caregiver picks up a distressed child and co-regulates their breathing, heart rate, and stress response, they're literally building the child's brain. Touch activates the vagus nerve, reduces cortisol levels, and stimulates oxytocin. These biological processes support the development of a calm, emotionally resilient nervous system. In Stone Age societies, babies were held most of the day during travel, while gathering food, even while sleeping. High-touch environments lead to less fussiness, faster emotional development, and better stress tolerance later in life. Physical affection teaches the body and brain how to return to safety after stress, forming the basis of empathy. The ability to feel with others is in sharp decline. A University of Michigan study found that today's college students are about 40% less empathetic than their counterparts just 3 decades ago. Our ancestors raised their young in environments built around emotional attunement. Parents, siblings, elders, everyone responded to a baby's cries, mirrored their emotions, and helped them make sense of the world. This constant social mirroring helped kids develop a keen sense of others' feelings. They didn't lecture their children about empathy, they modeled it. When someone in the tribe was hurt, others helped. When a child was upset, they were comforted. This daily practice created emotionally intelligent adults who could cooperate, share, and build strong social bonds. Children learn empathy not from apps or lessons, but from being empathized with. When their pain is acknowledged, when their emotions are validated, they internalize that same sensitivity toward others. Evolution didn't design humans for cubicles, screen time, or crying it out alone in a dark room. It designed us to thrive in small, tightly bonded groups. Our stress systems were built for momentary bursts of danger, not chronic anxiety, social isolation, or When a baby cries and no one responds, their brain doesn't interpret that as a lesson in independence. It sees abandonment. Stress hormones flood the system. Neural wiring begins to shift toward fear and reactivity instead of trust and regulation. Many modern parenting practice strict schedules, separation, and self-soothing go directly against what evolution prepared us for. Our hunter-gatherer ancestors followed instincts honed over hundreds of thousands of years. Respond to the cry, offer the breasts, hold the child, let them play, keep them close. You don't have to move into a cave to reconnect with ancestral wisdom. Start with touch. Hold your baby more. Skin-to-skin contact regulates temperature, heart rate, and stress levels. Rethink crying. Instead of letting babies self-soothe, try be the calm presence they borrow until their own systems mature. If extended breastfeeding isn't an option, build closeness through baby wearing, co-sleeping, or simply being present without distraction. Responsive care doesn't require perfection, just consistency. Rebuild your tribe, even if it looks different than 40,000 years ago. Grandparents, close friends, and trusted caregivers can all share the emotional load. Kids were never meant to be raised by just one overwhelmed adult. Let them play, really play. Ditch the flashcards and structured activities. Give them dirt, sticks, and time. Let them learn through exploration and imagination. Finally, trust your instincts. We've outsourced parenting wisdom to books, blogs, and influencers. But often, your gut already knows what your child needs: patience and presence. Was caveman parenting smarter than we think? The science says yes. Our hunter-gatherer ancestors weren't just surviving. They were cultivating some of the healthiest, most emotionally resilient humans to ever walk the earth. They didn't have parenting books or sleep consultants, but they had something far more powerful: millions of years of evolutionary wisdom. They raised their young with touch, presence, freedom, and community. And those children grew into adults capable of navigating an unforgiving world, not just with strength, but with empathy, cooperation, and mental flexibility. We can't perfectly replicate the Stone Age, but we can remember what it gave us. We can slow down, hold our children closer, prioritize emotional safety over rigid control, rebuild the social networks that once supported every new parent. The caveman wasn't just a survivor. He was a nurturer, a teacher, a protector, and maybe, just maybe, a better parent than we've ever given him credit for.